Hi everyone, I'm Alice.
And I'm Magdalena.
And this is Waterfront Wednesdays, brought to you by Boston Harbor Now. Today, I'm joined by Magdalena La Battaglia, the founder and executive director of the community-focused East Boston-based nonprofit Harborkeepers.
And big fan of the vlog.
And today, we're going to talk about the ongoing work being done by Harborkeepers and others, and that you can do to keep the harbor clean.
That's right. And I know you've talked about the Boston Harbor cleanup in past episodes, right?
Yeah, we've talked about the sewage treatment process and how there's not raw sewage anymore. There's no more oil slicks in Charlestown. Most, though not all, of the polluting industrial uses have moved away from the water's edge.
But today's conversation is about the stuff that's still polluting our harbors, like litter from the big stuff like marine debris to the microplastics.
And we're going to tell you what you can do about it.
So whether you live in East Boston or anywhere else for that matter.
And you might start by thinking about those signs that you see. On the sidewalk, they say, "Don't dump, drains to ocean."
I really like those old rusty ones, Alice, but I like the new designs too.
In Salem, they have these murals on the streets that are bilingual, that are painted on. They're really beautiful.
I think we need some of those in East Boston.
Yeah. But when I see signs like that, I used to think that that meant not to pour used motor oil down the drain. But I think most people know not to do that. It's about something else. Based on our conversation, the don't dump drains to ocean, really broad.
That's right. I mean, literally everything that gets left on our streets is pushed into storm drains when it rains or even when snow melts, and it all ends up in the harbor.
So any kind of litter on streets could end up in the harbor or along the water's edge.
That's right. Whether it gets blown towards the water, washed along our streets, or flows through the storm drains, all the litter on our streets could literally end up polluting our harbor.
So if you're eating and walking at the same time and you drop something, if something's blowing out of one of those regular open trash cans, if it's blowing out of a construction site or a dumpster.
Yes, all of it ends up in the harbor, and depending on the tide, a lot of it washes back up on our shoreline again.
And if you're on a beach, though, trash and litter can wash up with the high tide, but it could just as easily wash out at low tide.
That's right. So we have something called riprap, which is a rocky shoreline. The trash gets stuck there, and that's where we come in. So Harborkeepers organizes shoreline cleanups on a regular basis. We engage with community members, school groups, even organizations like the Friends of the Boston Harbor Walk. Alice, did you know that in 2019, we cleaned up more than 4,000 pounds of trash?
4,000?
More than 4,000.
Wow. That's a lot.
It is.
Quantifying the amount of trash you're collecting probably shows people what they've accomplished. It can empower people that they're making a difference in their community. But do you ever get tired of picking up your neighbor's trash?
Well, I mean, actually, not all of it comes from East Boston. And some of what is from the neighborhood is due to factors like trash cans being too small and they just can't handle all that trash.
Say more about that.
So for example, the Presty Park in East Boston, the trash cans aren't near the water. Some people leave chip bags or plastic bottles. After a day in the park, like on a beautiful weekend, the trash cans that are there are totally filled up, and it's just not enough to handle it.
So it's just everywhere.
It's everywhere.
How do you know trash isn't local though? How do you know it's not from East Boston?
Well, a lot of it really has to do with packaging. So for example, a Dunkin's cup could be from anywhere in Boston, right? But some of it is from elsewhere. So for example, styrofoam boxes where some of the fish that is processed could be really from anywhere in Massachusetts.
Recently though, not just styrofoam, you've been focused on plastics.
We have. And so for a long time, we were picking up big pieces of plastic and tracking that. But I've gotten more concerned about microplastics and even nanoplastics.
So NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, defines microplastics as being any plastic fragment smaller than 5 millimeters or 3/16 of an inch. It can start out as any type of plastic, but it's getting beaten up over time by the water. It's breaking down into little itty bitty bits.
So, right. And so we've started to collect it. And it's not because it's easy to pick up, because as you can imagine, this is really hard to pick up. But what we do is we put it in these kinds of vials and we go out into the schools in the community and we teach people about microplastics.
What are you teaching them about?
So it's hard to pick up along the coast. It's hard to get out of the oceans, right? A lot of big plastic, that's microplastic and nanoplastic, actually winds up in the Great Pacific Garbage Patch.
Nanoplastics can't even be seen by the naked eye. They might not be
Right.
making it to the Pacific, all of it. What are they bad for the things closer?
Well, I mean, definitely, even though it's incredibly small, nanoplastic is still plastic and it gets eaten by the fish, which then gets eaten by us humans.
Whole process. What can we do?
Well, number one, stop using plastic or use less plastic.
Thanks to Boston's plastic bag ban and lots of others across the Commonwealth and around the country, we are seeing fewer single-use plastic bags.
For sure. There are noticeably fewer plastic bags blowing around East Boston that even my kids noticed.
That's great. And what else should we be looking out for?
So avoiding plastic bottles is one, especially for drinking water. I mean, let's face it, Boston has some really delicious tap water, right? So people shouldn't really be buying plastic bottles. We can serve it at events in, receptacles. When Harborkeepers started the Marine and Maritime Festival, for example, we invited the MWRA to bring their chilled water truck, and people were refilling their reusable bottles or drinking it in cups, and now it looks like it's becoming kind of trendy.
That's awesome. Every time we opt out of plastic by using a reusable straw or bag or bottle, we make a difference.
We do. And some of the changes need to happen at the corporate level, and some we can influence through policy, but some of them are a little bit easier, like changing our own habits.
It's true. In terms of policy, what would you push for?
So I would push for more municipal funding to, hire more staff and public works staff to actually help, the streets.
Yeah. In terms of people's practice, one thing that we do on the Harbor Islands is we have a carry-on, carry-off policy. So you bring anything that is in a package onto the island, you have to take that trash home with you. And we could adopt that just in our general lives.
We could. It might be a little hard, but I really like that idea. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Magdalena La Battaglia.
And I'm Alice Brown.
And you can follow me on Twitter at Magdalena La Bat with a double T, or follow at Harborkeepers.
And you can follow me at Fairy Fairy.
If you like this video, please share it with friends or subscribe to this YouTube channel.
Give us a like or leave a comment below.
Keep track of your trash, pick up the litter, and use less plastic.
We hope to see you contributing to a cleaner Boston Harbor. See you on the waterfront.